So Perseus and Megapenthes exchanged kingdoms. Megapenthes took the original Argos and Perseus became king in Tiryns. And then Perseus founded Mykenai, which is right over there. So let's go and have a look at it now. Did you think you know where Mykenai is? Well, let me tell you. This is the original Scandinavian Mykenai, because only here we get the explanation for the name. Now, take a look here. This is the old road they used, and it continues here. See, we are walking on the old road that they used to get down to on the southern side, where it's gently sloping. And down here they had a well for water, and they had a beach for when they needed to get things closed. Otherwise, the harbor was on the northern side, which we will get to soon. As you see here, the vegetation. This is a national park because the vegetation here is unique for Sweden. And maybe, just maybe, a reason for that is that they brought plants with them, because those who lived here in Scandinavian or Scandian Mykenai, they had come from southeastern Europe, from the Yamna culture. Used to be called Yamnaya, but now we use the Ukrainian name, Yamna culture. And that's a long story how they came up here. And they did not come without help from the inside, because they had to cross the sea. So let's go up to the hill now. This is a natural rock that they converted into a hill fort. A very well defended hill fort. And if you know anything about the Iliad and the Odyssey, you know that the Achaeans, led by Agamemnon from Mykenai, they were the ones who sailed to Troy. And on the 10th year of a war, they sacked the city of Troy. And this is where Agamemnon lived. This road here has been used for thousands of years, until they left this place, abandoned it, and that's why nobody remembers here what used to be here, because it was abandoned due to probably a climate crisis. It was getting too cold. The climatic optimum was ending. It was getting colder, wetter, and it was time to move to another climate. Still a long way to go. It's almost 100 meters above sea level at the peak. Now we're almost at the top. And here they made a wall, because obviously they can't depend on natural defenses when it's this gentle slope. This was rediscovered very recently, in my lifetime. And it was covered by trees here, so it was hard to see. But now they cleaned it up so you can see it clearly. It continues up there. Here we have the trail to the northern head. It's sloping, but there is a southern head. It's kind of steep to go up here. Good exercise. This national park is open the whole year, but now this time of year you don't have to pay to get in. In the summer you do. Now this is the southern head. There are 3 heads like this with exposed bedrock. And from here, as you can see, there is a fantastic view to the south towards Simrishamn, and you can see when the sun is not in your eye, you can see Bornholm there, the Danish island, which I have also identified in Homeros. And Bornholm was Rhodos. The northern tip of Bornholm, the rock, which is called Hammerode in Danish, was called Kameros in ancient Greek. And it's the same word. The K turned into an H. Down there, that beach is considered the most beautiful beach in Sweden. So, now let's continue here to the northern head, which is over there. The eastern head is over there, and then we have a northern head over there. And in between, you have a beautiful triangle. Beautiful, beautiful, in the sense that it's low and suitable for, I don't know, building your palace, maybe. But of course, tourists now, they go to see the heads, to see the view. And the trails, they just pass over this interior area. So let's take a look at it. The eastern head is there, and all we see is the sea from there. So let's go in here where people don't usually walk. Look, the spring is coming. You get flowers coming. In the summer you don't see a thing here, it's all vegetation. It's rather overgrown. It's a national park because there are southern plants here that are kind of unique in Sweden, in Scandinavia. But these here are not unique. They give nice berries, but it's hopeless to walk among them. Let's see. All right. This area here is a bit moist. Dense vegetation, impenetrable, unless you're stubborn like me and walking over it. Now think back, 4,200, 4,300 years ago, when this was Mykenai. I will tell the story of how it was created, who founded it. So we're back on the trail. There we have the sea. Most of the slopes around this rock are so steep they don't need any walls. So this is the central triangle between that peak there, and that peak there. The three heads of Stenshuvud. Stenshuvud means stone head, or stones in genitive, stone's head, or possessive actually, to be precise for the linguistics guys. Now let's go to the southern edge here, with the western edge. The western edge is also steep, but there is one trail that goes up here between the southern and northern head, where they built a stair to help people get up and down. As you see, this would not have been difficult to defend. And also, with the help of a stair, you can get down to the water that's down there. There's more water down there than on the southern side. And look here. You see the bay towards Kivik, and in the distance there, we see Haväng, which we will also get back to. All of this I wrote about in my book, Finding Achaia. Would be possible to go up, but if it's slippery, you kind of die, because there's a precipice there. So I'll go back instead. It's dry now, but why risk it? So this is the northern head. It's making too much noise, I think, in the microphone. And from here we can see Kivik down there. The bay, the harbor is in the bay, and the marketplace. And then on the horizon we have Aulis, which we'll get to. So this is the location now. So let's go down again. From these three heads, they would have had good vantage points and places for fire signaling or smoke signaling to all directions, because between the three of them they cover everything, including over to Bornholm in clear weather, obviously. And in the north, we can't see it with this camera, with the lens I have on, but the visibility is 200 kilometers away to the northern end of their area where Tiryns was. There is no direct line of sight, but there is one hill in between that allows signaling between Stenshuvud and Tiryns, and Argos, which was in Knislinge at the time. But as I wrote in my book, Knislinge was not the original Argos. And in fact, it's mentioned that the original Argos, the center of that, was in Corinth. And Corinthos is not that far from here in the south. It's called Gröstorp today. It's actually the same word, it's cognate. It means grassland. So, now you've seen a little bit what the hill was that was the original Mycenae, and now to the name. Mycenae is from mucus, like mushroom. And what's this got to do with mushroom? Well, since a mushroom has this shape, it got also the meaning of cap. And just like this rock here has got three caps, which is in the name, Stenshuvud, stone heads like caps, so does Mycenae mean cap. And it's plural, Mykenai. If it had been just an A, Mykenai, it would have been one. But it's plural, and here there are three. So Mykenai has its name from this rock. And then they reused the name. In Greece, probably, but we don't know that for a fact, because the rock, the castle that they today call Mykenai, we don't know for a fact if they called that Mykenai at the time or not. The so-called Mykenaean culture may be a complete misnomer, because this was Mykenai. And nobody knows now if that was called Mykenai or not. We don't know. The name has been mentioned on Knossos, but maybe they were referring to this. So that's an open question. What was the name of that castle in close to Argos on the Peloponnese? What was it? One thing we know for sure, it does not have the form of caps. It does not have the form that justify the name Mykenai, and much less does it have plural, Mykenai. This was Mykenai, that who knows what it was. So, now that you know that Mykenai was Stenshuvud, and the name Stenshuvud also has a little joke about it, because the one who founded Mykenai had a son called Sthenelos. And Sten and Sthenelos is the same word, they're cognates. So the locals here, the vernacular, who did not speak Greek but Proto-Germanic, Northwest Indo-European, they, maybe as a joke, said this was the head of the baby of the founder, and used that as Stenshuvud. Now let's go and see where another important site is located. So let's go now and see where they did the sacrifice in Aulis, where their army had gathered, waiting for favorable winds to sail to Troy. And they sacrificed, and the snake came down and came out from under the altar and went up in a tree and ate the 8 chicks. Let's see that place, shall we? So here we are at Haväng, and as you can see, we have a wonderful view of the beach here, of the river that comes out, and also of Stenshuvud in the background. This site I've now identified as the beach of Aulis. Aulis means tent. The camp, in other words, the military camp where they congregated before sailing to Troy. And Troy is over there across the Baltic Sea, and then over the rivers, up the river and down the river, crossing the European continent, and you get to the Black Sea, and from there it's just a matter of following the Black Sea to the southern end, past the Bosporus, the Sea of Marmara, you get to the Hellespont, and on the other end the Aegean Sea, and that's where the city of Troy used to be. So at the time, the sea level was a few meters higher, and this was a bay that went in here, so that would have made for a good harbor. This dolmen is 5,000 years old, and it was covered by sand before. And from under the altar came a serpent and climbed up a tree where it ate the 8 chicks from a nest and the mother that fluttered about. And Kalkis, the seer, he said, this means that just like the serpent ate the 9 birds, so too will you fight at the walls of Troy for 9 years, but on the 10th you will be victorious. And that's in the Iliad. And this is the place where it happened, according to my hypothesis. But now, let's see what happened when they came back home to Mykenai. We were just down there on the beach in Aulis, which I identified with Haväng. But before, we have to pass this church here, Ravlunda. And let me tell you a few words about this. Rav is the old word for amber, and amber was the #1 export product from here in the Bronze Age. So the fact that it's called Ravlunda is a clue. Another clue is that Linné, if you remember the father of the Systema Naturae, the scientific names of plants and animals, he was here in 1700 something, I don't remember exact year, and he recorded a tradition saying that that hill down there in front of the house, you see there is a hill with just bad bushes on top. That hill was, according to local tradition, built by seafarers, mariners, for the god Neptune, he wrote. But in the 1700s they would have written Neptune with a Latin name, since he wrote in Latin, regardless of what name of sea god the people here would have used. It would have been interesting to know what name of god they used, but obviously it's the same god as Poseidon. When Agamemnon came back from Troy, he would have come to this beach here. Why this beach? Because it's the closest one to Mykenai. Now, it doesn't look like much now because the sea level is not the same. Now, you can't get in because of the stones. But back then, the sea level was a few meters higher. And when we walk in here, we see all of this is beach sand. And about 100 meters in, it goes up and there is a beach berm of sand. So this here was a sand beach. Let me show you here. Here we see. This is what it looks like here. White beach sand. See? This here was a beach. And here they would have come in. So at this beach, Agamemnon came in. And then his wife, Clytemnestra, and her lover were waiting for him. But obviously he had been away. He suspected no foul play. And legend says that she had prepared a bath for him. And when he was in the bath without his weapon, her lover killed him. And eventually they were buried outside of the city walls because they were not liked by people. That's a Greek myth. So when you transpose all of those myths here, you start to see what history was like here, what really took place, all of that lost history. And why is it lost? Well, that's another story, which I will tell in another video. Just a little bit upstream from the beach, we find this brook where they could have prepared the bath. And you know what's right next to it? The king's tomb. And what do we find in the grave, if not the 8 birds? On one stone, they are standing in front of an altar. And on the other, they're standing in front of a man with the arms stretched up like in a sacrifice. And we see the chariot with a man driving. We see 4 people standing. We see people with bronze lures. And we see 2 groups of 4 people going into what looks like an omega, which is a symbol of the end of the year. That is, no doubt about this. This symbolizes the 8 years. Well, if you want to read more about this, buy my book. It's available. I left the link in the description. And more books will come and more videos will come. So you may want to give a thumbs up, subscribe, follow the playlist. And I hope to see you next time back here. Please share.